Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Monday, the 16th of February. You're tuned in to our mid-morning newscast here on Arirang TV. It's a pleasure to have you with us. I'm Mark Broome. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. It turns out the Copenhagen shooting suspect shot dead by police after a deadly double terror attack on a cafe and a synagogue was on the radar of Danish intelligence. Lawmakers in Korea will vote today on whether to confirm Lee Wan-koo as the country's next prime minister amid various controversies surrounding the nominee. Plus, a tentative ceasefire remains in place in Ukraine, but there have been reports of fighting around a contested town in the east of the country. But we start with the latest terror attack in Europe. Police in Denmark say the suspected gunman in the Copenhagen shooting was a 22-year-old Danish national that had been known to authorities for a history of violence, gang activity and possession of weapons. Our Son Jung-in starts us off.
Police in Denmark are focusing their investigation on the gunman's movements before, during and after the deadly twin shootings that ended on Sunday when he was shot dead by police. Danish intelligence agency chief says the suspect, a 22-year-old man born in Denmark, was on their watch list prior to the attack.
It's a person who was known to us, so yes, it was a person on intelligence's radar.
Withholding his name, authorities said the attacker was known to the police for several criminal offenses, including violence, gang-related activities, and possession of weapons. After assessing CCTV footage, police believe the man acted alone, but they're still trying to see if the suspect received assistance from others. The gunman opened fire at an arts cafe that was hosting a debate on freedom of speech on Saturday afternoon. Among those in attendance was Swedish cartoonist Lars Vilks, who has received death threats in 2007 when his depiction of the Prophet Muhammad as a dog was published. The suspect was shot dead early on Sunday after a second attack at a synagogue. The carnage killed 2 civilians and injured 5 police officers. The Danish Prime Minister says the shooting was a politically motivated terrorist attack, and she promised to protect freedom of speech and the Jewish community in the country. The incident brings up memories of the recent terror attack in Paris. The French ambassador to Denmark, who attended Saturday's debate, believes the motivation for the cafe shooting was the same as for the shooting at the French weekly Charlie Hebdo that left 12 people dead. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
Egypt has confirmed that a group claiming loyalty to Islamic State has murdered 21 Egyptian Christians in Libya. A roughly 5-minute-long video released a matter of hours ago shows the Egyptian men dressed in orange jumpsuits being beheaded by masked militants after being forced down on the ground. A caption at the start of the video suggests it was filmed on a beach near Tripoli, meaning it's the first video produced outside of IS-held territory in Syria and Iraq. Calling an urgent meeting of his National Defense Council and declaring 7 days of national mourning, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi says his country now reserves the right to respond how it sees fit. Egypt has thus far remained fairly immune to these kind of terrorist acts by the IS group. Back here in Korea, and the National Assembly is going to vote later today on the confirmation of Prime Minister nominee Lee Wan-koo. The nominee is mired in controversy and the main opposition camp is deeply opposed to him becoming Prime Minister. The ruling party, however, is determined to see the confirmation through. Park Ji-won reports.
The ruling Saenuri Party, which holds a majority in parliament, says it will push ahead with the confirmation vote for Prime Minister nominee Lee Wan-koo, who used to be its former floor leader up until late last month. The ruling party is stressing that the rival parties agreed last week to hold a vote during Monday's plenary session, and there should be no further delays to avoid a vacuum in state affairs. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy is demanding Lee withdraw from consideration due to a number of allegations swirling around him. The opposition camp is set to decide on whether its party members will attend this afternoon's vote. This is the Park administration's third attempt to replace incumbent Prime Minister Chung Hong-won. Chung offered to step down in the wake of last April's Seoul ferry disaster. However, he has remained in his position until now, as two previous nominees were forced to withdraw for various reasons. If Lee is confirmed, the presidential office is expected to carry out a small reshuffle, including cabinet members and presidential aides, as early as Tuesday, based on the new prime minister's recommendations. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Korea has reportedly nominated a new ambassador to China. Various reports and government sources say Kim Jang-soo, a former national security advisor and former defense minister, will replace current ambassador Kwon Young-se. The decision is raising some eyebrows in Korea as it comes less than a year after Kim was blasted for making some controversial remarks about the government's responsibility for the Seoul ferry sinking last April. It also marks the first time that an official with a military background has been tapped for that post since 1992, which is when Seoul and Beijing established diplomatic ties. The 67-year-old served as the National Security Advisor from March 2013 to May 2014 and as the Defense Chief from November 2006 to February 2008. North Korean officials swore allegiance to their young leader at a rally Sunday ahead of the anniversary today of the birthday of the North's late leader Kim Jong-il. According to the North Korean Central News Agency, Choi Ryong-hae, secretary of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party, pledged to safeguard current leader Kim Jong-un on behalf of other high-level officials. Hwang Byung-seo, chief of the General Political Bureau of the Korean People's Army, and Chair Tae-bok, the chairman of the country's Supreme People's Assembly, were also in attendance. The state media outlet reported the young leader, however, was not present at the event. He was visiting a construction site for housing for the nation's scientists. Now, the most senior member of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party has stressed that the issue of Japan's sexual enslavement of Korean women during World War II should be resolved within the lifetime of the victims. Speaking to reporters on Sunday, Toshihiro Nikai said that he and Korean President Park Geun-hye agreed on the need to solve the issue during their one-on-one meeting in Seoul last Friday, which you can see there. Nikai, who is the top executive in Japan's ruling party, also said Tokyo must face the issue sincerely, adding that he will try to set the right conditions for a summit between President Park and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The two leaders have yet to meet one-on-one, despite both coming to power a couple of years ago now. There's hope the two sides can improve their frosty relations this year, as 2015 marks the 50th anniversary since Korea and Japan normalized their relations. Now, a ceasefire is holding in eastern Ukraine in line with a peace plan reached by the leaders of Ukraine, Russia, Germany and France. For more, let's connect to Eunice Kim at the News Centre. So, Eunice, it's still far too early to say, but so far at least the truce seems to be sticking.
Right, mostly holding in eastern Ukraine is how the mediators Germany and France are characterizing it, Mark, as there are still sporadic gunfire being reported, including those in rebel-held regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. Now, dressed as the supreme commander of the armed forces, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko gave the order to halt all fire in a televised address. Correspondents on the ground reported significant de-escalation of shelling and artillery fire as the truce kicked in early Sunday. But the point of concern remains to be the strategic transport hub of Debaltseve, an area that separatists argued they had completely encircled and was exempt from the truce, according to them. Now, ahead of the ceasefire, the U.S. State Department said it had credible evidence that the Russian military had sent ammunition to regions around that besieged town. Moscow, of course, has been denying denying sending any troops or weapons across the border.
Well, it's certainly a welcome respite from the fighting. And this ceasefire, of course, is just the beginning, really, in the roadmap those four European leaders had mapped out. What's next?
Right. Well, both sides will begin to pull heavy weaponry from the front lines beginning on this Monday in a process that is to be completed within 2 weeks. And when that's done, it will produce a buffer zone with a width of roughly 50 to 140 kilometers. Now, the Kiev government will also need to resume issuing state benefits and pension payments to citizens in rebel-held territories, which have seen a significant drop in living standards since the conflict began. Also, the United Nations is set to consider a Russian-drafted resolution to codify all of these measures adopted in Minsk.
And Eunice, turning our attention to another trouble area, Yemen this time, and we understand that the United Nations has adopted a resolution that aims to keep the very poor but very strategically important Arabic country from descending into total chaos.
Yeah, it came out of an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council just a couple hours ago. That resolution, drafted by the UK and Jordan amid pressure from the Gulf states as well, it was adopted unanimously by the 15-nation body. It has 3 points to consider here. One, it calls on an immediate and unconditional withdrawal of Houthi forces from Yemen's seat of government, which the Shia rebels had dissolved after placing Yemen's president and his cabinet members under house arrest, where they remain to this day, Mark. It also demands negotiations in good faith, an end to foreign interference, and also issues a threat that there would be further steps if the UN resolution is not adopted. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Yemenis did continue their protest against the Houthi rebel movement over the weekend in multiple cities. At least 4 people have been reported killed when gunmen opened fire there. The Houthi militia, widely believed to be backed by Iran, had set up their own ruling body after seizing power back in January.
Yes, even by Yemen's standards, very turbulent times over there. Well, thank you very much, Eunice, and we'll see you back at noon.
See you then.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers $15 billion. Now, in another gloomy report regarding the local economy here in Korea, the majority of Koreans say they feel the economy is in a depression. Now, this is according to a new survey that also shows people feel like they've been hit hardest by rising consumer prices. Our Hwang Ji-ae has the details.
More than 9 out of 10 Koreans feel the domestic economy has fell into a state of depression, and almost half of them feel like the slump will go on for at least another year. This is what a new survey released Sunday by the Federation of Korean Industries shows. The poll, conducted by a separate research company, surveyed 800 men and women over the age of 19 late last month. The respondents cited rising prices as the major factor causing economic difficulty. More than 20% of them also named a drop in income as something that has had an impact on their daily lives. Household debt, concerns about life after retirement, job security, and housing and educational expenses were also cited as a burden. On the inflation rate in particular, more than 80% of respondents said they feel like prices have risen faster than the government's announced inflation rate of 1.3% for last year. Skepticism about the domestic economy is also expected to dent private spending this year. More than half of those surveyed said they will spend less this year than last year, while a mere 8.5% said spending will improve in 2015. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
The rising number of Chinese tourists to Korea is having a significant and positive impact on the Korean economy. The Korea Tourism Organization says more than 6.1 million Chinese people visited Korea last year, a jump of more than 41% from 2013. The money spent by each tourist from China, on average, resulted in some $2,700 for Korea, or a total of $17 billion US. Now, to give you some idea of how much that money is worth, that's equivalent to the value of almost 700,000 exported cars. The agency also estimates roughly, on the back of all these Chinese tourists coming, roughly 340,000 jobs have been created. The traditional Korean rice wine makgeolli is becoming more and more popular in China. Korea's Agriculture Ministry says makgeolli exports to China jumped to more than $250,000 US last year, up 187% from the year before. The increase is attributed to a decline in the consumption of hard liquor in China and the perception, at least, that makgeolli is a very healthy alcoholic drink. But while the overall volume of makgeolli exports to China increased by 5% last year, exports of the rice wine to Japan decreased due to the weaker yen. And Lunar New Year is fast approaching. It will be here on Wednesday, the holiday at least. And a common gift that is shared and eaten during the holiday is hangwa, or a traditional rice confectionery, really. Once a holiday favourite, the treats have actually become less popular in recent years, so the makers of this snack are trying to give them a more mouth-watering appeal. Paulie reports.
These small, doughy pieces of glutinous rice turn into feathery cakes, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside when dunked in boiling oil. After they're coated with chochung or rice syrup and sprinkled with rice topping, they become delicious yugwa. They may look like ordinary traditional Korean confectionery, but they actually have a very unique flavor of jujube and hot pepper that is known to blend well with rice.
The fermented hot pepper, yugwa, that we make is one of our best-selling items because of its unique spicy taste, which is different from the traditional sweet taste.
The idea for this special recipe was provided by a local agricultural research service. And fresh agricultural products for the ingredients are locally grown, an added bonus for some.
As we have gotten positive reviews for our newly developed hangwa with hot pepper, grape, and jujube flavors, we're planning to diversify and expand our product lineup.
As the Lunar New Year holiday nears, hangwa makers are busy trying to promote the unique taste of their products while preserving their traditional qualities. Paul Yi, ARIRANG News.
Korea's population is aging fast, and while it's a big problem that poses a serious challenge to the government and healthcare services, the growing number of senior citizens offers a range of industries the opportunity to target the booming and lucrative market. With this week's Industry Insight, here's our Connie Kim.
Come 2026, about a quarter of the nation's total population will be 65 or older. Now, zeroing in on this lucrative market, Korea's medical machinery industry is targeting the silver generation. The domestic medical device industry has been growing about 5% annually over the past 6 years, topping $4.2 billion in 2013. And it'll only increase as demand rises with the changing senior demographic. But it's not a surge in cutting-edge operating room hardware that's leading the way. Looking at the most recent data, the top manufactured devices were dental implants devices and dental alloys used in fillings. About 9 out of 10 seniors in Korea are implant recipients. The country's leading dental X-ray manufacturer, Vatek, is just one of the many companies that see the potential for this market and is aiming to cash in.
It's important to use accurate dental x-rays, especially for seniors, considering that implant surgery comes with high risk. We expect a surge in demand for our x-ray machines.
And another fact, 1 in 5 seniors are known to be suffering from diabetes. Green Cross MS, a company that specializes in diagnostic tools, recently acquired a blood glucose monitor maker. The company says it's a landmark deal that'll help it focus more on developing technology for the elderly.
This will help us access the ubiquitous healthcare market. We are currently doing research on how a smartphone could be used to track heart rates, cholesterol, and hemoglobin levels.
Medical devices are evolving, going smart and high-tech. Analysts forecast the industry will continue to head towards helping older generations.
Medical machines have gotten smaller, small enough for elders to carry around. If the technology to send data from these medical machines to hospitals are developed, a new ubiquitous healthcare industry will open up.
Korea's changing demographics are affecting how the local market will expand. In the past, medical advancements and devices squarely focused on curing people and saving lives. But now, the landscape of the industry is shifting towards helping people live healthier and longer. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2015 Four Continents Figure Skating Championships, where despite high expectations, Yeonna's kids are far from being the next figure queen just yet. Now, with the latest single free skating program taking place on Sunday, the 18-year-old Park So-yeon struggled a bit on the jumps as she scored a 110.28 points for a combined 163.75, good for 9th place overall. Meanwhile, Kim Hae-jin would finish off with a combined score of 147.80 points overall for an 11th place finish, as the two teenagers finished the event with a rather disappointing result. Now, meanwhile, the top podium spot will go to U.S. figure skater Polina Edmonds, who finished first with 186.82 points overall, with Satoko Miyahara and Rika Hongo of Japan finishing second and third, respectively. Now, more disappointment on ice, this time over in the ISU Single Distances Speed Skating Championship, where Lee Sang-hwa went after her third straight gold medal in the 500-meter event. But it seemed like her knee issue continues to be a problem for the two-time Olympic gold medalist, as she would finish with a combined time of 76.004 seconds after 2 races and would finish 5th overall. Now, the 5th place finish is her first non-medal finish in the event in 7 years. Now, with her knee problem more and more apparent now, her coaching staff might opt into shutting her down for the season and go for the surgery if her condition worsens. Now, Lee Sang-hwa might have fallen short in getting her third straight gold medal during the Single Distances Speed Skating Championship over the weekend, but sensational Son Heung-min found the net 3 times over the weekend as he nears a record set by the legendary Cha Bum-gun, with the 23-year-old scoring his 12th, 13th, and 14th goal this season in Bayer Leverkusen's 5-4 loss against Wolfsburg this past weekend. Not only did he break his personal single-season goal record, but is on the brink of breaking the Bundesliga single-season goal record for a Korean player. Now, with the legendary Cha Bum-gun scoring 19 goals during the 1985-1986 season, Son Heung-min is just 5 goals away from the record as he continues his hot streak over in Germany. Now, a legend in the sporting world can be born in many different ways, and one of the ways is basically winning more than anyone else, which is why Ulsan Mobis Phoebus head coach Yoo Jae-hak is already being called a legend despite still being active. With head coach Yoo and his Ulsan Mobis Phoebus facing off against the Seoul SK Knights on Sunday, Mobis will win the game 70-60, giving him his 500th victory of his career. The 52-year-old, who made his coaching debut back in 1998, is the first KBL coach to reach 500 wins and is currently leading the KBL with the most games coached with 884. Now, with a combined record of 500 wins and 384 losses, he's also second in the KBL for winning percentage behind KT's Chun Chang-jin. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
It's shaping up to be a wet and gloomy day today. Rain that started last night continues to sweep the nation, and it should rain throughout the day and possibly linger into tomorrow. So 5 to 20 millimeters of light to moderate amount of rain will fall across the nation, and rain could turn into snow for the Gangwon-do provinces. So please keep that in mind, and let's take a closer look at the readings for today. So the daytime high in the capital will climb up to 6, while the top temperatures in Daegu and Gwangju will rise to 7 and 11 respectively. And as for the other regions, Jeju Island and Daejeon should see a high of 13 and 8, and Dokdo will peak at 6. That's all for the weather. Have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you very much, Jion, for the weather. And that's all we have for now. Plenty more stories online, and we'll be back with our next newscast at noon Korea time. And so until then, goodbye.